All right. Happy Monday. Welcome back. Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis hanging out with you, talking Eagles. And we will continue to do so with our next guest who covers the Birds on a daily basis. He is the beat writer for NJ.com. You can follow him on Twitter at @CFranklin News. And he was down at the link last night. Chris, what's up, my man? How you doing?
Doing great. It's finally here. We actually got to see the link for the first time in months, and yeah, I felt home. I felt like I was home. It was good.
It was comforting, yes. And we actually have a game in 5 days, which is, even harder to fathom. But let's start with you. Just give me, Chris, whether you want to go fans, whether you want to go something that stood out positive, negative, something weird that caught your eye, whatever. Give me some impressions of last night from what you saw.
I think I'll start with fans because I thought it was just funny seeing that it felt like they were in mid-season form. I mean, you had the guy in section 115 holding up the Cowboys towel. You saw another fan on the Eagle sideline side wearing the Justin Tuck jersey, and then everybody just cascading boos upon them. So it felt like they were in mid-season form. I thought offensively, I thought that was one of the more sluggish practices, probably the most sluggish practices they had all camp. There's some things they would like to take back. I don't know if it was like they're just they're in the moment, getting used to everything, seeing the crowds and everything. So that was a little bit. But overall, I felt like it was just good that everybody got back. Like some of these guys got to see the experiences, and then we also got to see Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham for the first time. We got to see them line up. So I thought, there was a lot going on that in that one slow day in one day, but it was pretty cool.
Nice. Gunner, you muted, bud.
Yeah.
I haven't had to say it in a long time. The streak is over.
Silent count? You going to silent count there?
Oh.
Hey, Chris, is it true Sirianni kind of lost it with some of the players on offense or his offense in general? Did he get a little heat?
He's gotten heated. I think he's gotten heated. I think every practice. So at one moment or something, because he's been looking at defense. I remember earlier on, he's always like when it comes to because he's you don't have him in details. Well, every coach in detail, but him, especially in the situation moments. It's become a regular occurrence. Like it's nothing like I think the players know it too. It's nothing like, oh my God, he yelled at them. Whoa! It's one of those things that airplane. I mean, very wrong. When you see he's going after your starting quarterback, your franchise guy just paid $200 some million. At first, you're like, oh, but it's how these guys react afterwards. Is if they take it constructively and get better from after that, or start sulking. I haven't seen anybody start sulking or anything like that. So it's one of the things that he just don't do the pre-snap penalties. He'll probably be on your good side.
Well, Chris, you just mentioned it. We talked about it last segment. So let's talk about the additions here. And we've seen them do this before in camp for sure. But Miles Jack, Zach Cunningham, is that just, hey, they legitimately don't have a lot of depth there. Nakobe's still dealing with the ankle. Not a lot to read into it or read into it because nobody's really shown much here, frankly. And you're there every single day. But you tell me, how do you look at these additions?
I think it's a little bit of both because I know they're low on numbers with things, but when you start having like Nolan Smith having to play off the ball, you have Janarius Robinson starting to line up a couple of times like an off the ball. You see this like I know you tinker a lot early on, but as over time you see that more and more. It's like it's something there. So they needed somebody I think over with that because I just think this needs some more veteran presence in that linebacker room because a lot of guys besides Morrow, who's in his 6th season. You have Sean Bradley, who's 4th season. After that, everybody else is like 2 years or drafted rookie. So you need some veterans to start pointing stuff out because we all know the size system. It's starting to be that man match, and there's a lot of communication. You have to see a lot of stuff and anticipate what the offense is going to do with emotions and everything else. So you need some veteran guys back there to help them out. And I think I'm very intrigued by Cunningham in this system as opposed to Jack. I think when you look at his ability to play that will spot next to Dean, I think he can play well and help guide him along when you see this. Say, hey, I see this. I hope you see this too, and help him out that way.
Okay.
Are you surprised they let Taylor go? Because I thought he should have been gone last year. So I'm not really surprised. And I hate to say that, but I just thought that he was never going to cut it here.
I thought, especially when they brought back. I know they didn't have DJ Elliott here just to help Davion Taylor. But I thought, getting a familiar voice in there would help him out along the way. And I think when you look at his ability, if anything, more as a special teams guy or a developmental guy, but he's can't be a developmental guy being 2020. He can't be like that. So when you see that, I wasn't surprised. I think he was going to cut anyway. But at the same time, I would seriously not be surprised if he's back in some shape or form on a practice squad by week 1. I really wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Chris, let me go back to Dean then. Just what I keep hearing from people who are there every day, I know you are, is hasn't looked bad, but just hasn't really popped. Is that an apt description of what it's been so far? And is that because he's thinking too much out there, or is it just the way it's gone? He just hasn't really shown a lot.
I think it's the way it's going, and especially coverage. I thought at least a couple of times, I think in coverage, I wanted to see him like at least not so much. You don't have to get. It'd be nice to see some interceptions, but at least get to be the pass deflections, because a lot of times they've been completing a lot of stuff underneath, and you want to limit them. Okay, I get that, but I want to see him be a little more aggressive in the pass game. That's personally for me, but I think it's more of things like, I don't know if he needs to feel like a real game situation where he's able to really truly flow through the ball and try to get in there, squeeze into where the gap's going to be, and then try to make a tackle that way. I don't know if it's that as well too. So I wouldn't put that past him, but he's somebody I want to see like take it up to another level in terms of coverage and everything else. I think he's calling the right defenses. I think what he's seen, he's done a good job with that. It's a matter of and trying to make some more bigger plays in that second level.
When I look at Cunningham, the thing that intrigues me about him is, where are you going to play him? You said he could be a prime candidate for that will spot, but you look at wherever else he's played both inside and outside. He's played in the 3-4 and he's played in the 4-3. Now, the Eagles, the way their linebacking core stacked up initially was you had two linebackers in Morrow and Dean, who were both under 220 pounds. Now they go out and get two linebackers who are 245 and 230 plus. It seems to me they want to get a little stouter also, especially with the run defense. I think they still view the run defense as being susceptible, and a lot of times you need that linebacker to be able to come up and provide that thump.
Yeah, especially if they go nickel. I mean, if I'm looking at them, especially how many times you see the three wide receiver things come out, that's one of the things where I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be surprised to see him if one of those guys is like the dime back here or there once in a while. Because if I'm running inside, if I'm spreading you out and I'm running inside between the tackles, yeah, you can wear that. That's how you can ball control this. Keep that Eagles offense on the side and you ball control. I think when you have one of these guys out there, if they're out there with Dean, I think one of the sides gives you a little bit more of a physical presence. Now, either one of these guys, either Jack or Cunningham, they're not world beaters when it comes to coverage. They'll handle their own. You're not going to be just like, wow, this guy should be all pro because he can do his pass defense or anything like that. But they'll be adequate when it comes to there. But yeah, when you go to nickel, I think that's a concern a little bit, especially with Morrow.
That feels like a T-shirt. They'll be adequate. Yes, let's go. Adequacy.
Here's my
yes.
Here's my Kelly Green jersey for them. Yes.
Gonna run through a wall. All right, Chris. Who I mentioned this with Gunnar earlier. Maybe I'm just whatever. It's a good thing because I'm going to like backups now. But it seems that Mariota's really had a tough time in the passing game in terms of just basic throws. We know he's got the wheels, but what are you seeing there from him?
It's weird because I look at him. It seems like he goes 1, 2, and then run. That's a 1, 2, 1 progression, 2 progression, run. And I look at the way that the touches just seems not to be there on his passes. There's signs some of these guys are open and there have been tight windows to get them, but they've been open, and he's just missing them. He's overthrowing them especially toward the sideline. And to me, I think that's one of those things where you feel settled, especially if you're in the pocket and you just your feet. If you're just your feet calm and everything else, you throw it out that way. It feels like I just feel like he's just rolling when he's scrambling, rolling around, not doing this. He's not being as accurate. Doesn't help when the second team center, when the snaps are going low and they're fumbled too and everything else. But I wish I saw a better version of him at this moment right now because I think there's still a lot more that could do. For me, I'm still a little concerned with him back there if something were to happen to Hurts.
I had mentioned this to Rob earlier, and we talked about, obviously the show quarterback gave a lot of insight into Mariota's demise down in Atlanta. And I mentioned to Rob in the first segment that when the Eagles decided on a Mariota, think about what was out there. There's not much out there in the way of backup quarterbacks. They needed a backup. Minshew's gone. He was the best of the lot. At least he has NFL experience. I'm not saying that's going to transition to him if he has success here, if something happens to Hurts, but he was the best available, And why wouldn't you want to come to the team? If you can't go to the team that won the Super Bowl, what's the next best option? Go to the team that came close to winning the Super Bowl. And thank goodness he's having these issues now instead of September, October. Hopefully he can iron it out. But I do think there is some value for Mariota if he can get his passing game up to par with his running game.
And there's some things that can go into it as long as you learn a new system and it's being different from the one you're running. Because this system's not run by a lot of people. I'd be surprised if there's another one that has one like this, but it's unique. And so some of the progressions change. But even when it comes to basic slants, dig routes, makeable throws, he's just not hitting them at all. He needs to improve ASAP.
Interesting. All right, let's go to the positive here. Give me your impressions. I know I again, from what I was seeing last night, it looked like he was okay, solid. But Jalen overall, I think, other than maybe what was it, Thursday, has had a pretty good camp thus far, Chris.
Yeah, he only had the one. That was his first interception. I think he was trying to just throw it to try to do some stuff to say, hey, what if? Let me just see this. And he looks in rhythm. And like in a conversation, we talk about Mariota, and it's like he's not comfortable with that. Jalen's just sitting back in the pocket, and even when he is rolling out, he just looks sure he's getting the ball in the right areas, he's getting them in catchable balls for receivers to make plays. Especially, I've seen when it comes to Brown and Devonta Smith on those sideline routes, it's just automatically clicking now. They just know, like, hey, you know what? You get this ball here, and probably going to be a high chance I'm going to make this play, even with defenders jump. I saw when it came to Josh Jobe, who's surprising me a little bit how well he's covered so far. Being that close on Devonta Smith, and Hurts still fitting the ball inside there and making the play. I look at that and I see that he's really mature. He's continuing to mature as a passer, and I think especially the third year as a starter in the system, getting as many reps. I think we're legitimately. I know he's a runner-up. I legitimately think he has a very, very good shot to win the MVP this year. I really, truly do.
Wow. Okay,
Chris, knowing Howie like I know Howie, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination he's done. He's still wheeling and dealing somewhere. From your perspective, what's another area of concern that Howie could address?
I think they can look at the safety spot. Mm-hmm. I think there's just to get another veteran, a couple veteran eyes back there. They haven't been too bad. I mean, but they've been mixing and matching, trying to find combinations left or right. We've seen Kayvon Wallace getting first team reps, Terrell Edmonds getting down there, Reed as well. And then you still have Sidney Brown, still young. And to me, I don't want to rush Brown because playing safety is very tough, especially as a rookie, because you got to worry about your inside assignments as opposed to just being a corner on the outside. So I look at them. I wouldn't be surprised that one. And to me, you have, especially before that last week, before training camp's over, if you want to dangle one of those running backs out there, if you have a good idea which one of those 5 running backs you're going to move on from, why not dangle one of them, trying to get that back? I mean, I'm looking at, if I'm the advanced team, I'm looking at the Indianapolis Colts team where they have that somebody who maybe stand out. I know it's going to be tough there, but the running back issues they're having out there. Maybe throw one of those guys out there, see if they have somebody who's promising you maybe under control for a week, for a year or two, and who knows, maybe you find a diamond in the rough that way. But yeah, safety for me is the spot.
Chris, how have Carter and Davis looked on the interior?
Davis, to me, is like he's gotten a little bit better, especially in the pass game. They were running a lot 4-man defensive line fronts, and I was like, all right, this is just, I guess, try to see that. And
last night, right, Sweat, Davis, Cox, and Reddick to start, right?
Yeah. So you're looking at them, and I like the way he's been able to get 2 guys drawn to him, which you want to see. I mean, you want him to be that guy to take up 2 guys to free up more one-on-one opportunities. So I like what you see out of him. Carter, he's going through his rookie stuff right now. You can tell, like, it's almost like he's still thinking his way through, like, okay, I have to look at this assignment, then this assignment, and then slows his way. This was like a step slower because he's still processing. And once he gets used to it, more comfortable with his assignments and everything else, I think you'll start to see his athleticism take over a little more. But he's going through. I think he's going through his rookie beginnings and initiation stuff right now.
Who do you think is going to emerge as the number 2 tight end behind Goddard? Is it Arnold, Calcaterra, Stoll? Who is it?
Oh, they need Stoll. This is the second one, because when you look at the blocking aspect of it, I think you need another guy there, because I know it's a passing league, I know everything else, but if you want to have Goddard going out there and you need another thing, I think Stoll's going to be that one. And it's not the prettiest of receiving times when he's out there going his routes, but yeah, I was shocked that he got as many targets as he did last year. Jalen started to trust him a little bit more. But I think when you look at what he does for your blocking aspect, he allows Goddard to go out there a little bit. To me, it's a battle for the 3, and I was definitely thinking before. I'm thinking, all right, Calcaterra's got this. But Arnold's starting to creep up a little bit. And then you still got Tyree Jackson a little bit still lingering around too. I think to me, it's going to come down to who blocks better at the 3, because we all know that he got to do well with that quarterback sneak. If not, if you're just letting guys go in, I'm like, yeah, you don't.
That's what I was going to follow up and ask you. Is the Tyree Jackson experiment just about over? I mean, the dude's 6'7", got a wingspan like a 747, but he's never been able to stay healthy.
That's his issue. If he stayed healthy, especially that first before that ACL tear, I'm thinking he's the number 3 tight end easily, and he could be a great red zone threat. Really,
yeah.
You tell me you have to worry about AJ Brown. You got to worry about possible crossing matchup with Goddard and Tyree Jackson going across. You got Devonta Smith on the outside. Good luck. And you got Jalen Hurts can still run. That would be good. But the thing is, he can't stay healthy, and he still needs to work on his blocking too, because you can tell it's still. He's gotten better from when I remember initially seeing him when he entered the league, but you still tell it's kind of a quarterback trying to block, and he's trying to get. He's gotten better. He's got his hand placement a little better, but it's he. I think if I had to start saying the season, if they're making rosters right now, he's on the outside looking in.
All right, let me ask you about 2 names who I don't think most of us had on our radar coming in: Mekhi Garner and Ngata, excuse me, the receiver out of Clemson, undrafted, Joseph Ngata. It seems that I'm hearing a lot of good stuff about both. Give me a little bit on those 2 guys.
To me, those are my 2 camp standouts by far. Like that dark horses. To me, they're a dark horse. I'll start with Garner. Garner is really physical, and I like that. So you need a cornerback like that as well. Because I know a lot of times you think of the zone, you're thinking, okay, 1-2, let me just get to my area that one. I like the fact that he's gotten into some of these receivers' faces and started trying to reroute them as well. And he's been sticking to their hips as well, too. I like what he's done. He's gotten beat. Yeah, he's gotten beat a couple of times because I think there's been instances where he's too physical trying to get there, but I like what he brings in that way. I look at Ngata. I think he's an interesting case because I don't think they carry 6 wide receivers just because he needs other places. But he's a guy where I look at him like, okay, you can see him being a developmental guy, runs those inside shots, a bigger receiver. It's like he's around to me, it was like the same build, like AJ Brown type. He's not AJ Brown, but he's got the AJ Brown type build. Yeah. And when you're running those RPOs, when you're running those slants, you can hit him. My only thing is, it seems like every time he catches the ball, he's slipping afterwards. Like, man, take your cleats, man.
Is he playing in Arizona? What's going on?
Godfather must have went to the NovaCare Center all of a sudden. Like, and it's affecting him, like, because you see him, he makes these catches, like, cool, and then he's slipping and falling to the ground. And
dude, change your spikes, man.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, he should easily have about another like 20, 25 yards after the catch, but he keeps down too. But those 2 guys, to me, I really like what they've shown so far early on. I can't wait to see them in this preseason game.
Yeah. I haven't heard much about Zacchaeus in training camp. Has he done much of anything? I mean, 5'8" slot guy. Has he done much of anything in camp?
It's been to me, it's been inconsistent with him because you'll see in the individual drills, he'll have a few drops, or he's double catching it. He's double catching it. It's like, and so when everybody says like, hey, he's going to be a 3. To me, I still think Watkins is your surefire 3 because I just don't think he's shown early on. And Graham, I'll preface this early, but I think early on it hasn't been a lot of clean catches with that. Mm-hmm. So you want him like, and there's times when you see him, they'll run like these certain play, and then he makes this unbelievable spectacular catch. Like, all right, I can see this. I can see why they got him, but it's too inconsistent. And it seems like that's the term with this camp. You just want. When it comes to a lot of things, you want consistency across the board because you see a lot of these guys flashing, and other guys will take 2 steps back. Like, what are you doing here? So, yeah, I think he's the number. I think he's steadfast in that number 4 spot.
All right, we focused on the linebackers, but safety, and that's another concern area, right? Sidney Brown, everybody's just like, man, this dude's waiting to pop. He wants to just kill people, and obviously you can't do that kind of stuff a lot in practice, right? So we're hearing that. But it seems like he's at least made his way up to the 2s. He was with the 3s early, right, Chris? So how are things looking safety-wise in your opinion?
I think you're going to – I thought he was going to kill somebody last night. I really thought, like, oh, no. He's like Marcus Epps hit Boston Scott last year. I'm like, oh, there's going to be a concussion here. Here we go. But, yeah, when you look at that, I look at the way it's turned out. I think Blankenship's one of the starters. From what we've seen in OTAs a lot of times, really, it's OTAs into early training camp. It was always Blankenship and Edmonds.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of 3 safety looks, and they shown it a couple times and playing that big nickel. So I think that's an opportunity where you can get Brown in there in the field, have him be there. We all know his ball hawking skills.
Yep.
Allow him to play back and let everything develop underneath and see what he does, and let him choose his spots to try to pick the ball off. I think they're in there. Kayvon's gotten a lot. I'm shocked Kayvon Wallace. He's warranted playing, getting some more run. He's played a lot well early in camp. It's a matter of thing when it comes to him, like always, it's the coverage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's more of a box safety, so you look at that. So I can think, to me, I think they hold steadfast, and this is early on. I think they hold steadfast with Edmonds and Blankenship being your starters, but I think you'll see Sidney Brown being mixed in here and there, especially in a big nickel type role, so you can allow him to do his thing. Why
haven't we heard much about Greedy Williams? I mean, he was a quality corner in Cleveland, but nobody's talking about him in camp. Is he underperforming as well? I mean, because I think he could play safety also if he had to.
Here's the thing: it's so many guys at that position.
Yeah.
It's one of the, like we were talking about earlier with running backs. Cornerbacks will be another thing where I think it's going to be tough. You see a lot of names. You're going like, he's had a solid camp to me. I mean, Greedy got a little greedy on one of those plays. AJ Brown, he would have been flagged for pass interference. Got a little bit, get handsy, but another physical guy, another guy who likes to disrupt the timing early on in the route. And to me, it's just a numbers game. I mean, I know you can use them back there and do this, and we're seeing more and more of this positions like back 7, where guys just line up and say, okay, I'm just going to put my best on your best, and we'll just go from there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's possible. You've seen them more like focused on that cornerback, and right now, you look at Joe Garner and Williams trying to vie for one of those spots. It's tough. I think he's just got lost because everybody else is really going out there right now.
Chris, will we see? I know we're not going to see like Jalen Hurts, so I don't mean these kind of guys when I ask this, but will we see any sort of name guy? Like, will Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter or Nolan Smith or any of those kind of guys get reps? Do they want to get Juergens reps in games? Like, will we see any of them in Baltimore or any of the preseason games?
I think it's still be decided. I haven't heard anything myself there. If I'm them, we know how much they value these over the joint practices.
Yeah,
almost like their games themselves.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if like Carter and Smith get some playing time just to get them their feet wet to how they warm up, how they get used to things, how they do things before a game. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I don't think you'll see a lot of main stars. Juergens, to me, I don't think there's much to prove for him at the center spot, because he's not going to be used back, so you're not going to see him playing that way too. And you want to value that guy because he's going to be starting lineman. So he may get maybe a series. I don't know. It's tough to still figure that out for him, but I wouldn't play him too much as well too, because he's going to be a important part of your offensive line.
See, my rags to riches story this year has to be Derek Barnett, and I'm think the Eagles are going to give him every opportunity possible to be a definitive part of this pass rush. Has he had any standout moments, or has he just been okay?
He's been all right. I mean, he deflected one pass earlier, one of Hurts' passes early, but that's been about it. And I think he's been limited a lot because they've still been working on that knee. And I still think it's his roster. I really do. The fact that they restructured that deal to me was a clear indication, like, we're bringing you back. And they even liked him last year before he tore his ACL. They were still high on him. Nick was really going to bat for him, and the guys in the locker room love him because they've seen what he's going through. I mean, Brandon Graham still, he's like, he knows it because he knows that too. He can develop late too. I think it's the second game, especially against the Browns. He's going to need these joint practices to really stand out and get that rush from that outside. He really is going to need to do that in flash. But I still think he makes his roster, and I think he's a guy like Denarius Robinson who you start to question, is he going to make the roster because of that restructured deal now?
Chris, we kind of touched on it, but what's Nick's message been? Has it been a lot of, hey man, he hasn't been afraid to reference the Super Bowl, look at it himself almost obsessively from some of the stuff that I've seen. Whereas some other coaches may say, hey, we got to forget that. We got to move on. It's forward, et cetera. What has been his message to this team that we all have pretty high hopes for, but it's hard. We all know it's hard to get back there.
He doesn't want them thinking about a Super Bowl. They don't want to think about hearing what's going on. Oh, you guys are supposed to be the NFC favorites. He's using that old cliche, old adage, we're going to take it one day at a time, one game at a time, one rep at a time. We all know that one too.
Yeah.
I think right now, I think that's the best way to do it because the players, they know they're good. They know they're a good roster. They know that. And the last thing you want to do is thinking, oh, we can just be complacent. And then halfway through the season, all of a sudden, you're like, wait a minute, we should have had a couple of games we should have won. And then you're starting to worry a little bit. You're panicking, and that's how everything spirals. So it's been basically he wants to look at the short term and not to think it. He's going to really think that he's going to gather everything up, and then that's going to lead to find another playoff run. But they're just focused on the short term right now and not that long term right now. At least that's what he's trying to get across.
Right. No question. Listen, man, always good getting the info from someone who's there up close and personal, Chris. We appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate you, brother.
Keep up the good work. Yeah, follow him on Twitter at C Franklin News, and of course,
wait, follow him on what? On what?
Oh, sorry, X.
Follow him on
X. Throw your Dante Holes up.
There you go. There you go.
I know that's going to take me a while. I got to tell you to get that out of my system.
That's
X.
ridiculous. X.
I don't like it. Like it's like the only X that should be involved with the Eagles and everything else. When we talk about Weapon X and Brian Dawkins, all this other X and X this that X, it goes DMX. And everything, Weapon X and everything else. Just make it Twitter.
Like any business, you want to establish a brand. Yeah. Once you establish it that's successful, you roll with it. Like, what are you doing? I don't know, whatever.
Twitter, go the Prince way.
X this. You know.
Yes.
The social media site formerly known as X. I'll go the Prince way with that.
I'm never referring to it as X. Never.
Chris, listen, man. Thanks for a couple minutes. We do appreciate it, brother. Thanks.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Take care. Man. All right, actually, Tone, I need the Carson Wentz still of Carson Wentz working out. Gunner, we get a chance to get to this in the first segment. I want to show people what Carson is his wardrobe, what he's rocking here to get ready to try to make his comeback, if you will. So currently Carson Wentz is out of football. We know that. He does want to play. He has said that he will accept a role as a backup. All right. So this is real. Eagle helmet
superimposed.
No, this is real. Eagles helmet, Washington Commanders jersey, Colts shorts. So you're looking at, working your actually you're not even working your way backwards. You're going middle down up. For what the career has been of late from Carson Wentz. You're telling me like there isn't I get it. Maybe you don't have a lot of helmets lying around, but you couldn't have thrown on a different pair of shorts or a different jersey over your pads?
It's a marketing ploy, man.
Is that what it is?
He's desperate.
I think it looks weird.
Let's put it like this. 2017, he was a viable Eagles MVP candidate. Okay, until he hurt his knee. Look at how his career spiraled downward since. In the storylines that have come out behind him, not just in one but two places. All right, how many people? Dude, that looks fun. That looks like a Halloween getup.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
First of all, there's a reason he's still out there looking for work. I don't know if anybody wants to touch him right now based on stories that have been told about him.
Yep.
See, there are quarterbacks sitting out there waiting for jobs that are just caught in a numbers game that there's nobody really looking at them right now because they have younger players they want to look at to see if they can develop these younger quarterbacks, so on and so forth. If they find out one of these younger guys is not it, then these veterans can get a call. I think he's last on anybody's priority list to call as a backup. He's got the talent. He can run. He can throw. But there's that other stuff that came with him that has tainted his career. And I don't know if he's going to ever be able to fix his image, to be honest.
I agree. Look, I agree with you in this sense. It's one thing if a guy has just been ravaged by injuries in his career. And certainly Wentz, we know, has had a share of injuries. If it was just that, you could justify bringing him in because he's a great presence in the locker room and he's going to be the backup. So he'll actually have some time to heal. And then perhaps when he's called on, he could do a good job for you.
Yeah.
The issue with Carson it's the injury stuff, but it's also the know-it-all, splintering a locker room kind of stuff that goes along with him. So that's the problem.
Or being labeled potentially uncoachable.
Correct. Yeah, he's a know-it-all in a lot of ways, and look, I don't think it's a coincidence that this is happening right now. I think to some degree he had to be humbled, and I'm sure that this is part of the process of being humbled. I don't know that it's to the extent that it needs to be. And, where is he physically? I mean, he was a wonder because he was so big and he was athletic and he could get out of tackles. But all that stuff has started to play against him too. Like he holds the ball too long because he thinks he can make, magical plays happen rather than just conducting the offense, if you will. So I think all of those things, do I think if there's injuries this year that he could get a shot as a backup? For sure. I mean, it depends on the severity of the injuries around the league. I don't think teams are knocking down his door right now. I don't know that he starts the year on a roster.
Let's also be honest. The NFL owners are not above sending definitive messages to certain players. We've known they've been involved in collusions and things like that. I wouldn't be surprised if it said, hey, don't touch this dude. He needs to learn a lesson. Now, out of desperation, somebody might bring him in, as you said, during the season. Quarterback gets injured in preseason. A backup gets injured in preseason. Backup doesn't pan out the way a team thinks. Maybe they get desperate. Okay, he provides a veteran presence. But if I bring him in here, my contract is so ironclad tight against him. Dude, if you even burped the wrong way, you're gone. I'm dead serious. You're not coming in here and disrupting the chemistry and the continuity we're trying to build here. Yeah. We're looking for people who can be positive examples and role models. We're looking for a veteran presence who can come in here and mentor some young players. Don't teach him your negatives. Whatever positive you learned along the way, those better stand out first and foremost, or we won't hesitate to let you go, plain and simple. Yeah. You've had enough chances in your career. You've made enough big money in your career to know what this league is all about.
Well, and that's where I'm starting with him. Like if I'm having a conversation with him, I'm not even I'll get to the injuries, but the first thing is, hey, tell me why this is the rep that's going around the league with you. How much truth is there to this? How coachable are you? I think that's where everything begins with Carson. If he wants to continue to have a career, they're the things that he's going to have to answer to and show by his actions that he is willing to be that guy. I don't know right now. Would it shock you if he never played again? It wouldn't shock me.
No. Now, I agree with what Daz here says in our chat to a certain degree that he says Carson is better than 99% of the backups in the league. I won't say 90. I'll say he's better than at least 90% of the backups in the league. He might be better than 99%, but at least 90%, which means there's a 10% window. But because of his history and his image, I mean, look at what they did to Colin Kaepernick. Look at what the league did to Colin Kaepernick because he took a stance. And then your commissioner came out years after the fact and said, well, after the George Floyd incident, well, maybe we should have listened to Colin.
Right.
Really? So you blacklisted him out of the league, but you should have listened to him later? Now, Carson Wentz, that's a whole different beast. Carson destroyed his own image, but Carson has attributes that could help a team in a backup role. But because of the image and how he's been portrayed the last couple of years, nobody wants to touch him.
I don't know. I'll put it to you this way. Dan says Dan Cilio says last 24 games, 5,318 yards, 38 TD, 16 picks, et cetera. Those numbers on face are not bad for sure. And certainly better than what some backups who are out there can produce. But tell me why he's been through 3 teams in 3 years. And right now he's out of football. If it's just about the numbers, which aren't that terrible. Why is that? Because that tells me it's beyond the numbers and what the potential talent is.
He divides. He doesn't bring people together. He's standoffish. He butts heads with coaching staffs, offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches. You tell him one thing, he's still going to do his own thing. It doesn't work that way. You got to play along. This is a league where a lot of times you got to play along to get along. There are very few Tom Brady's, Aaron Rodgers that can write their own ticket, do what they want, say what they want, and there's no repercussions. There's very few of those players in the National Football League. I talk to players all the time. You have to get along. You have to play along to get along in this league. Yep. And you have to build yourself to a certain status to where you can speak out and say what you want to say and do what you want to do. It doesn't happen often. But Carson Wentz found a way to basically – now, granted, I will give Carson this. After his Super Bowl year, offensive line issues, think about this. Offensive line issues everywhere he's played, including the Eagles.
True.
That's because of injuries. Either injuries or they just had an inferior offensive line.
I agree.
He hasn't had a decent offensive line to protect him since he played for the Eagles.
I think when things fail this spectacularly for someone, it's usually not just one reason. Like some of it, I think more of it is on him, but some of it, you can't control. The last year with the Eagles was a mess for a lot of reasons. With Doug, with the offensive line being injured, there were a lot of things going on. We saw with the Colts that it didn't matter who was playing quarterback. We saw it last year with Matt Ryan.
Washington, he got tattooed.
Washington, but we saw him when he played the Eagles the first time this year. It was the same old crap. Holds the ball too long, turnovers, that kind of stuff. I mean, would they have 6 sacks on him, whatever it was?
They had 9. They had 9.
Sorry. And that's not just the offensive line. That's the quarterback who doesn't know when to get rid of the ball too. It's like I said, it's a combo of things.
If your receivers aren't getting open, you just don't want to throw the ball away. Now, granted, he does have a tendency to hold the ball too long, but let's face it, their receivers were not getting over. And by the time, there were a lot of times when he stepped back and planted his foot in the turf, he'd have to start running for his life because the people up front, the 5 guys up front, couldn't hold the line of scrimmage for him.
Yeah. Yep.
And the Eagles just tattooed him.
Yeah.
And his whole season was like that in Washington. That offensive line was a mess in Washington.
No doubt. Yeah.
Let's see what he could do. And I don't know if it's going to happen behind a decent offensive line that can protect him and give him some time. I don't know if that's going to happen for him. I really don't. And I don't know. You're right. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get back in the league this year, Rob. If he doesn't get back in the league this year, that's a definitive message sent by the league owners to him.
Yeah.
What you did the last couple of years has cost you severely.
Yep. All right, let's get a timeout. Let's come back. We will turn our sights to the Phils, and they won 2 out of 3 over the weekend. And it was a weekend that had there's a lot more going on than just what was happening on the field. So we'll get into all that kind of stuff when we come back a little bit later. Derek, we're going to walk through the AFC East and pick the order of the AFC East and who finishes where. All right, let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances, critical to say the least. But I can tell you from personal experience that I trust Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review. You might have a small business and you need help getting your employee benefits off the ground. I mean, that's another resource that Jim can help you with. I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call. 610-996-4751. 610-996-4751. You could also email him, Murray, MURRAY.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim